Welcome to Transcending the Rabbit Hole. I'm Brandy Anderson. I'm a spiritual director and Jungian coach on an ever-winding contemplative path of becoming. I'm the author of Through the Veil, A Glimpse into the Afterlife, and co-host of Spectral Symposium podcast. I'm joined today by my very good friends and co-hosts, Annalise and Parker Bess. Annalise is a singer, songwriter, sound healer, and spiritual influencer dedicated to raising human consciousness as she shares her awakening journey on TikTok. Parker is a true knowledge seeker and truth bringer in the realm of esoteric wisdom. Parker has a solid understanding of metaphysical concepts with expertise in the shadowy corridors of secret societies, occult knowledge, and ancient aliens and ufology. We invite you to pry open your third eye and journey with us through the cosmic rabbit hole as we alchemize esoteric insights in a quest for ultimate truth.
Falling down the rabbit hole again.
Welcome to another episode of Transcending the Rabbit Hole, the show where we peel back the layers of illusion and dive deep into the hidden architecture of reality. In today's episode, we're exploring manifestation, not just as a trendy buzzword, but as a metaphysical technology of consciousness. What if your thoughts are more than mental chatter? What if desire is a compass and belief is the blueprint? We'll talk about how manifestation really works beneath the surface, beyond vision boards and affirmations, and into the quantum realm where intention meets frequency, where inner alignment becomes outer experience. Whether you're manifesting healing, purpose, or radical transformation, today's conversation invites you to rethink what's possible when you remember who you really are. Let's decode the mystery of manifestation and maybe, just maybe, reclaim our power as conscious creators. Annalise and Parker, it's a privilege to transcend this rabbit hole with you guys.
Thank you, Brandy. Great to be here.
Yeah.
It's great to be here, Brandy. We're on the same screen today.
I know if you're watching us visually, you will see we are a two-headed monster today. We're having some technical issues.
Yeah, but we're working those out, and so moving forward, we'll be probably back into two frames, probably.
Yeah.
Parker said, let's hope so.
Yes,
Well,
I think so.
Yeah, well, it's great to see you, whether you're in two frames or one, so...
Great to see
Absolutely.
you. I'm excited for this one. This has been just a newfound wonder in my life, manifestation, and I came about it a little bit accidentally, but it's quite worth talking about.
Yeah. It's something that I didn't hear a lot about coming through the Christian, church in that background. I mean, everybody talks about prayer, but they don't really talk about manifestation. And as I shifted into a more mystical, contemplative space, manifestation was like all I could hear about. And so then you have to sort of sift through all of what's nonsense and what's, legitimately true. Anyway, I'm excited for this conversation. And I thought, a good place to start would be just to explain what is manifestation for maybe anyone who's listening who's maybe not familiar or finds it a little confusing. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about manifestation, like specifically the popular concept of the law of attraction. TikTok is overflowing with instant success techniques. The overall message is just like good vibes only brings like cash and luxury items. So just stay positive and rake in the good life. But, I guess it's often served up as a quick fix, like a cosmic vending machine. And the idea is that if you visualize it and speak it into existence and just stay positive, then the universe will deliver. And while there is an element of truth in what they're all saying, they often reduce manifestation to a surface-level practice focused on material gain, like bypassing that inner transformation and the shadow work and the energetic alignment that true manifestation actually requires. So, in essence, pop culture tends to glamorize the outcome without honoring the inner alchemy that makes manifestation authentic and sustainable. But I just want to say that manifestation isn't just wishful thinking or slapping a positive quote on a bad day. At its core, manifestation is the process of bringing unseen potentials into visible form. It's the art of aligning your inner world, your thoughts, your emotions, beliefs, and energetic frequency with the reality you wish to experience. And it's based on the idea that consciousness shapes reality. That your focused intention, when paired with belief and embodied action, becomes a signal broadcast in the field of infinite possibilities. And we talked about this last week. The quantum field is pregnant with potential. And the universe always responds to the signal that we're broadcasting. But it must be said, the response is not always on our timeline. and not always how we expect either, but always according to resonance. So to manifest is to remember that you're not a passive observer of life, you are a co-creator with it.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody's a creator of their reality, like we said in the last episode. And the quantum field that you were just mentioning, like when you do manifestation the right way, to receive these signals that your brain puts out, that your soul, brain, or what, both at the same time are putting out electrical signals. I mean, these are like legit signals that are being put out through experiments. They've seen, like, they will attach electrodes to people's head, and when they specifically like pray, or when they have a really intent thought, they see the wave go from like a super high charged wave, and then it disappears, meaning it goes somewhere. It's going into the quantum field is what it's happening. And like you were saying, like, there's not a quick, like, this isn't like I found a vending machine to the cosmos, like you were saying. It's just, I mean, you have to be intent. You have to be grounded in what you're doing. You have to embody what you're believing and saying, and it's not just like, I'm a millionaire and, I'm just going to be happy and I'm going to be a million. It takes a little bit more than that, but, it does happen in good time, if you really are intent about it.
Yeah. For anybody like me who's like, yeah, what are you really saying? Like real life, like example. I think it was Dr. Joe Dispenza who made it make sense for me when I was, I started listening to him during my kind of chronic pain, like peak. And he started talking about how, whatever you put your attention on is what you're going to get more of. You send out, like Parker said, that electrical signal to the ether, the universe, and all is connected. So you're going to get back what you're sending out. And so I was at that point sending out, oh, I'm in so much pain. Oh, I hate this. Oh, misery, misery, misery. And I kept getting more of that back, even though I was praying, oh, God, please take this pain away. Oh, God, I'd do anything. Oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. And I found out on the journey that anything that I had to do was to really release my control of the situation and start putting my attention on things that I didn't have in my physical reality yet. Things like healing and prosperity and just contentment and comfort, no more pain. I had to envision what it would feel like to live in that reality, and that is what would bring that reality to me. And so rather than begging God, please heal me, oh, declaring that healing, I had to start praying in a different way of, I am healed. Thank you for the healing. Thank you for how this pain is teaching me something that is leading to my healing that I claim. And I had to picture myself in my highest reality to bring it towards me. And 3 years later, it is here. It came towards me. But it was after I started not praying in a outwardly seeking kind of way, but from within, putting out to the universe, putting out to God what I knew my reality needed to be for my highest good. And it changed my life, and it totally changed how I pray.
Yeah.
I think, being grateful is a huge part of all of this. When we get into, laws of attraction and stuff, that's like the main thing, when the universe sees that you're grateful for what you have, it gives you more of the stuff you're grateful for. But when you're coming at the universe or God, source, whichever word you want to use, when you come at that with lack or with please heal me or please make me rich or anything like that, the universe is saying, you don't have that. You don't have that. You want that. And coming from want is a low vibrational state. When you're coming at it from gratitude of, being grateful for what you have, or even embodying the manifestation you're trying to do of I want to have a business. I want to have a business and control my own life. Okay, well, then you start to manifest. Then you start to be embodying that business owner. You're grateful for having a business. You're grateful for the opportunity to start a business. And things start to happen. Things start to come into play that are part of the manifestation you're trying to do. But the whole I want a business. I want to do this, but I can't. I want this, I just can't do it because of this. That's a low vibrational state. And the universe and the laws of attraction don't match with that stuff.
Yeah, because to be in want is to be in lack, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so that really is what it's all about. And I heard someone, and I think it was Brene Brown. I don't know if you guys ever listen to her, but she's pretty great. She was talking about people talking about an attitude of gratitude. I'm sure you've
Oh
heard that.
yeah.
I've heard it in Christian circles. You need to have an attitude of gratitude,
Yeah.
and you hear that in manifestation circles too. And I love what she said about that. It was something like she's like, I have an attitude of yoga. Like I wear yoga shoes and I wear yoga pants. And she said, I even have a yoga mat lying around somewhere. She said, but I do not practice yoga. And so having that attitude of yoga will not make you, proficient in the practice of yoga. You have to actually embody it. You have to live it and breathe it. And so just an attitude of gratitude, that's not really it. It's not like, that you repeat some affirmations or go, oh, I'm so grateful. But down deep inside, you're in that lack mindset. That's what you have, that feeling of lack. And so that's the vibration, the frequency that you're putting out. So, and it really is counterintuitive because we would really love to be able to just say some magic words and then, everything just reap the benefits. But thanks be to God, right? Because if everything we just thought and said haphazardly were to come to fruition, like instant manifestation of whatever we spoke out, that would be dangerous. Think of all of the harm. I'm thankful that all of my words do not just return to me, because it's more than just speaking the words. It's about that inner vibration coming into inner alignment. It's about your belief, really, and what you believe deep down has to be reflected in what you're saying and what you're doing. So, yeah, that's definitely what it's about.
And believing
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
fullest. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd love to mention
100%.
too, I'd love to mention, because of my little Southern Baptist roots, how Jesus said exactly how to manifest. Like he told us how to right before John 3:16, when one of those Pharisees, Nicodemus, came to him and said, we can tell you're a powerful man. How are you doing these things? We don't understand. You're so much greater. How? And he replied, I assure you, unless someone is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. And being born again means to come into being again, to renew your mind, and then you will be able to perceive the kingdom of God, which is right here, right now. And Jesus told us that it's within you. It's, we, as we've said over and over, all is within God, but you literally cannot see it until you are born again, until you have that. I think that he's talking about a spiritual awakening or a true renewing of the mind, not just I accept you as my Lord and Savior, Jesus. No,
yeah.
He's talking about I realize now that I am one with all, one with God, and I am a manifester, whether I like it or not. What I put out will create something. So if I put out negative thoughts, negative words, negative actions, it will create those things, because I'm a creator just like God's a creator. But we are, creators of our own reality. And so, yeah, that's what he said. Unless you have been born again, you cannot see the kingdom of God. And then Nicodemus is like, well, how can you be born a second time, And we've heard so many sermons on this. But he says, I assure you, unless someone is born of water and spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of God. So he says it again, the wind blows where it pleases, and you hear its sound, but you don't know where it comes from or where it's going. So it is with everyone born of the Spirit. And then he goes on, and we have John 3:16. But gosh, it's crazy how we miss that. He said, you want to do what I'm doing? You're asking, how am I so powerful? How do I command reality? How am I a son of God? Because I've been born again. My mind's been renewed. I realize my oneness, and I create from it with authority.
Yeah.
And we just missed it, in church. And it's just a shame, but really cool to wake up to it and come back and see that it was in scripture all along.
Oh yeah, that's a wonderful point. And like manifestation is kind of a taboo topic in Christian circles, and I think it's because it's framed in as new age, and it's using metaphysical language. And in all honesty, a lot of the stuff you see floating around out there is ego driven. Like it's all about accumulating material wealth. It's manipulating outcomes and bending reality to our will. And so this should sound off-putting to anyone who is genuinely following Christ. But I think it's important to keep in mind that anything good can be distorted and used for ill. And just because some people use it that way doesn't mean that we should just throw it all out. We all have to walk that delicate balance between good and evil in every aspect of our lives. But I will say up front, this is exactly why I highly recommend doing your inner work. like opening your heart space and working toward inner alignment before ever engaging in manifestation practices. It'll just keep you safe from those pitfalls of that egoic manifesting, which a lot of people's prayers are egoic. So it's not even just that manifesting is egoic. Prayer is often egoic. People are praying from a very superficial, and really prayer, I mean, at its essence, is a form of manifestation. And it too gets distorted. Like, it gets framed as asking God for something, when in reality, prayer is more about proper alignment. And in the prosperity gospel culture in Christianity, I don't know if you guys are familiar or spend any time in any churches with that, but like, that's a distortion of this exactly. They rightly intuit that prayer is about aligning with the law of attraction, but then they get it twisted just like pop culture. And in essence, the prosperity gospel is just a surface level manifestation theology. It's born out of genuine metaphysical insight, but then often repackaged to appeal to the ego, ego over essence and transaction over transformation. But genuine manifestation is the vibrational tuning of your being to a specific outcome or state, such as peace or healing or provision. And I've heard some Christians say that manifestation is evil because it assumes that we have power. Like the power is ours to manifest instead of God's, and we should be trusting God instead of ourselves. But it's interesting that Jesus didn't tell his disciples to go ask God to heal the sick or raise the dead or cleanse the lepers. He said, you go heal the sick, raise the dead, and cleanse the lepers. And Jesus himself went about not asking God to heal, but just commanding healing. Because he was in alignment with truth, healing just flowed through him. And the way that we align ourselves properly is by purifying our desires through shadow work, which is something we've talked about in almost every one of our episodes. It's just our God-given desire gets buried underneath our conditioning and our trauma, and we just lose touch with who we were created to be. So uncovering the gold that's buried underneath all of that egoic material is the key to manifesting, like what's for your highest and best good. And that's the only manifesting that's sustainable. Someone who's fragmented might manifest $1 million, but it wouldn't satisfy, and they'd probably end up just losing it. They would squander it, while likely wrecking other aspects of their life in the process. I mean, they'd probably go down like a shooting star, just take a nosedive. And it's why people who hit the lottery often go broke again soon after. I mean, they get that windfall, but their vibration wasn't resonant, so it left them as fast as it found them.
It kills me when people say it's new age, like all this stuff is new age. This is the oldest sense of anything that's ever been, because it's part of the universe. What's new age? Nobody's gonna like this. What's new age is Christianity that happened 2,000 years ago. Everything else just think about it. That's the newest mainstream religion. In our circle at least, is Christianity. I know there's like Muslim, Islam, all this stuff afterwards, but this is not new age. This has been happening. Shamans from around the world, shamans in the Aboriginal culture in Australia, the oldest known culture in human civilization, this human civilization existence has shamans, and they knew about this before anybody knew about this. This is not new age. You do have TikTok people or whatever making like a living off of this, trying to sell people like a vending machine of the cosmos, pretty much. And it's just not true. It's not new age. And Jesus also said, you will do greater things than me. Okay. He would have to mean manifesting. He would have to mean, like Brandy just said, operating out of authority with oneness to control, maybe not control, but to like heal the sick, or to, gosh, I don't know.
Calm the storm.
Calm the storm.
Yeah.
Exactly. He even said that.
Open blind eyes. I mean, a lot of things that defy the laws of our natural world, Jesus came in and he disrupted the natural flow of things, and he brought healing. But obviously his heart space was open because it was all about healing and wholeness and restoration. He wasn't trying to manifest a yacht or something like that.
Yeah. And we've talked about it before too, like with duality. Of course you're going to be able to manifest good things. Of course you're going to be able to manifest bad things. It's a matter of your intention. It's a matter of, just like Jesus, he came at it from the highest possible source, the highest possible vibrational spot a person could come from, and he operated out of that and commanded the universe, commanded everything. The same could be done on the other end, and people just have to be very cautious of that because duality is true. We've talked about that.
I gosh, there's so much I could say in response to all of it, but something that came to mind was back in September when Hurricane Helene came through the southeast, and I was looking on TikTok videos, and at this point, my algorithm had become very spiritual minded, and there were a lot of people saying, "We're going to pray against this, but we're not begging God turn the storm away. We are saying, with the power of Christ in me, given to me." By Christ, I command the storm turn away from these people, protect these people. I cast healing upon these people, all those kind of things. So that, that evening that it was about to hit, at least near our region, I was doing that kind of prayer and I could feel warmth and tinglings coming out of my hands as I was doing it. And I told Parker, I'm like, I think I'm tapping into something much bigger than what I was taught about in church. I can feel the healing coming out of my hands. And then the next morning, what was supposed to be wiping people like completely off the map. Now, although the damage was horrible, yes, but it was not as bad as they told us it was going to be.
Right.
And the next morning I saw lots of spiritual people on TikTok say, look at that, look what we did through just, whether you want to call it prayer or energy work or manifestation. I feel like it's all words pointing at the same thing. It's using that inner power for good and healing. And, gosh, even our toddler son, he hasn't forgotten that we have that power. When anybody's hurt, he'll go up to them, put his hands on them and say, I'll make it all better. I'll make it all better. And he's 3. And they told us at his preschool that he does that to every child. When someone falls down, he comes over, he's like, oh, you crying? I'll make it all better. And the other thing I wanted to mention was with the gratitude, I keep a Bible verse up in our home from, I think it's 1 Thessalonians. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God. I think that's pretty much it. That is the will of God. Like, period, is be grateful. And when you're grateful, you get more to be grateful for.
Yeah.
I have this shirt I wore yesterday. It's from Tractor Supply. Tractor Supply is the best place to shop for your clothes. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. And it said, focus on the good and the good gets better. And that's something I'm really trying to do because I can definitely fall back into those negative mindsets. And then I wonder, why is my life getting so negative? Oh, I'm so focused on what I don't want to happen, but I'm so focused on what's making me perceive this suffering, whether it's like a mental suffering or whatever. But when I focus on, okay, let me remember what I do have that I've been blessed with. Well, everything turns around then. It's just amazing. I have accidentally discovered that I am super powerful, that we all are. And I had no idea because that's not how I was taught and programmed. It was, no, you are weak. You are nothing. You're a worm. The only power is outside of you. You just better beg for it to work out. It was just such a different programming than what I've come to know as the truth.
I want to give a backstory drop of the hurricane story that Annalise just said, because I don't know if anybody remember, it wasn't too long ago, but I'm sure a lot of the details have slipped people's minds. But that storm was supposed to just wipe Tampa straight off the map, pretty much. And what happened, the storm shifted a couple of, degrees or whatever, to where it shifted out of the full on blow into Tampa and ended up just kind of going off back, a little bit back into the ocean. I mean, and that was a huge win just for Florida and Tampa and just humanity in itself. And, I believe what Annalise was saying as well, the whole just collective commanding of prayer like that. It had to have done something. I mean, all the weather channels were saying Tampa was getting wiped out.
There was there shouldn't be Florida by the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
And people were just after the hurricane that had just come through and wrecked our eastern or our southeastern region. Once that came for Florida, people were just mad at that point. I saw people awakening on TikTok to, we're just not whether this is natural disaster or weather manipulation, we're not standing for it. And we're tapping into the power within to speak against it. And the next morning it was I got a text from my friend in Florida. She's like, oh my gosh, it was next to nothing compared to what they told us to expect. It's just not an accident, because they weren't expected to even be there in the morning.
Yeah.
So I think people are waking up to not just their individual manifestation power, but their collective manifestation power. When it's done intentionally and together, we're unstoppable.
Yeah. 100%. And, in churches, it's, like you said, prayer is often framed as asking God to move on your behalf as though you have zero power in the equation. And I think it's a collaborative effort. Like I'm not suggesting that we, like our ego self, like the Brandy self is actually moving reality, but it's that part of us that is one with the divine. And when you come into alignment with that, because if God is really love, and I believe that God is love, then of course, then healing and health and wholeness is what's always flowing perpetually. And so it's just a matter of us coming into alignment with that and bringing about favorable outcomes. But Jesus, he often emphasized the power of belief throughout the Gospels. In Mark 11, I think it was, he said, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. And this is manifesting 101, folks.
Exactly.
I mean, notice though that he says to believe that you have received it, not that you will receive it. He wasn't preaching a pious lesson here. He was giving spiritual technology. And when Jesus healed, he often said, your faith has made you well. And he placed the creative power not with God out there, but with the individual's alignment or their belief. In other words, you will have what you believe for. Manifestation really isn't New Age fluff. It's just it's a reclaiming of an ancient mystical truth that Jesus himself modeled. And faith for Jesus was not some vague hope. It was an active participation in the unseen realm. It was a deep knowing that reality responds to our inner alignment.
That's right. And when he went into his hometown, they said they didn't believe he could heal. And so the
he
Bible
couldn't.
says, so he couldn't.
Yeah.
Now, if something is telling you Jesus couldn't heal his hometown, and they say because the people did not
Because of their
believe he
belief.
could, because of their belief, how have we missed it? How have we missed it so badly? I don't know. But if even Jesus was not healing because the collective did not think he could, like that shows you the power of the collective's belief.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
nobody can refute this either. I mean, it's coming right out of Jesus's mouth. Like, I mean, I've seen on our social media page how a lot of what we, or Brandy, Annalise, myself, will give a scripture, right? And then somebody will just take it and just completely do a horseshoe bend with it and, bend it into whatever they want to say. You cannot do that with this. This is him literally giving you the law of the universe right there, like right there. Believe that you have it, or believe what and you just go ahead and give the give the quote, please, because that's exactly what the law of the universe is.
Yeah. He said, if you believe it, you'll have it, and that's the thing. It all boils down to what you believe, and a lot of people might say they're believing this, that, and the other because they have a cognitive, perception of it. It's like, oh, I'm believing in my mind. I'm saying that I believe these things, but what we really believe will be played out in the way that we live our lives. If you really believe something's true, you will live as though it's true, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are saying, oh, I believe this, but then their lives, betray them. It's clear that they don't really believe what they say because the way that they live their lives is in direct contrast to that. And I think also you were talking about in the Christian denominations or whatever, how manifestation is something that's pushed back against, and but Jesus' own words, some people do get it right though. I mean, they do, like these healing ministries, there are some out there, but they wrap it in Christian language. They're careful not to use New Age terms, but they're really tapping into the law of attraction and manifestation. With the way that they try to not manifest but pray for divine healing. And I think they're onto something, but I think also even in churches it can get twisted. Well, it's just our human nature to twist it, right? Because it's so counterintuitive. We don't want to do the inner work. We just want to manifest the good without actually shifting interiorly. And I think that's important also to talk about the role of the shadow or the unconscious in manifesting. And by now, everyone knows I'm coming from a Jungian perspective, so I have a lot to say about this. So I'll try not to take up too much time here. But I did want to share some things that I think might help some people. The unconscious is the hidden architect of what we manifest. So it really does boil down to what is unconscious below the surface. That's what's actually determining the course of our lives. And you can affirm all the right things daily, but if your unconscious is holding limiting beliefs or unresolved trauma or deep-seated narratives of unworthiness, Well, that's the frequency you're actually broadcasting, not the conscious wish, but that shadowed truth beneath it. And in Jungian terms, the unconscious is not just a storage room for forgotten memories. It's a living force. It's shaping our reality beneath our conscious awareness. And so manifestation isn't just about consciously desiring something. It's about bringing the unconscious into alignment with that desire. Jung said, unless you make the unconscious conscious, it'll determine your life and you will call it fate. So that's it exactly. If we fail to face our shadow, our lives will feel fated to churn out lack and shame and guilt and all manner of neurotic patterns. So in order to manifest for our highest good, we have to do our shadow work, which means confronting the parts of ourselves that sabotage, that doubt, or believe that we're unworthy. Because as long as your conscious and your unconscious are at war, your manifestations will feel blocked or delayed or distorted. And I think a lot of people struggle to manifest because they're trying to force a feeling or a thought that flies in the face of what they really believe. So it's like swimming upstream. It's like saying, oh, I believe I'm lucky and everything works out for me, while in reality, you feel unlucky and you believe life is beating you up. And it's just hard because you're fighting against deep-seated beliefs and programming, and it's just not sustainable. But when you go within, when you face your shadow and you learn to release those limiting beliefs and deprogram yourself, you can generate a prosperity mindset that vibrates in accord with the things that your higher self desires for you. And when you do the work, you raise your vibration, you'll just attract the good you desire. You won't have to try and conjure it up or work against those blocks, because in reality, life is always sending you the good things you desire. Like health and abundance and prosperity are already always available. They're perpetually flowing towards you. You just have these inner blocks that are keeping you from receiving it. So if you remove the blocks, if you open your heart, then it'll just begin to flow through you naturally.
Thank you, Brandy. Oh, yeah, that's absolutely right. Absolutely. Like that shirt, focus on the good and the good gets better.
That's
and that
right.
verse, God works all for good for those who love him. And I think that has helped me a lot with just minor inconveniences or things that I would have used to consider bad in my day that come my way. Now I can look at them and kind of say, okay, well, this is for my good. So it might feel irritating right now, but maybe in a few months I'll get to look back and see why, this was thrown in my path, because for whatever reason, it's for my good. And I really have come to see that, like, every stumbling block that I had perceived as a bump in the road was really just directing me towards where I needed to be in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't get what we want. We get what we are.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I guess for those who are interested in the metaphysical aspect of manifestation, maybe we should get into the quantum mechanics of it just a little bit. Like the idea that all is mind is the foundation of both Hermetic philosophy and modern metaphysical science. In the Hermetic tradition, this principle teaches that the universe is mental in nature, that everything we perceive originates in consciousness. So reality is not something outside of us, but a projection from the mind, which we talked all about this last week. For anyone who might be interested, like the various quantum theories that point to the nature of a holographic reality projecting onto the screen of perception. And this isn't just poetic mysticism. It mirrors the emerging view of Analytic Idealism, which argues that consciousness is the fundamental substance of reality, not matter. And for those interested in that, I would just suggest Bernardo Kastrup and Rupert Spira. They're both excellent resources in this regard. You could really nerd out, go down all sorts of rabbit holes, reading all of their books. And I'll put that in the show notes. But anyway, what does this mean in relation to manifestation? It just means that what you think, feel, and imagine isn't trapped in your skull. It reverberates through the very fabric of reality. Your inner world is not private. It's participatory. You're not just observing reality, you're interfacing with it through your consciousness. So there is no such thing as a private thought, which is a little frightening when you stop and really think about that. And that was one of the first things I realized when communicating with my loved ones through the veil, that there is no such thing as a private thought. But when we manifest, we're not asking the universe to do something for us. We are consciously participating in the malleable mental field from which reality emerges. You're not a body with a mind like Parker has pointed out, you're a mind dreaming a world. That really is what it is. And the clearer and more integrated and more aligned that the mind becomes, the more the dream begins to shift. So we really do have the power to create our realities, but it's a very gradual shift. I mean, it's not as though we could just wave a magic wand and have a whole entirely new life. I mean, right? I've said this before, but if you pray for an oak tree, God will give you an acorn. And that really is what it's about. It's about that seed that's planted that then, grows into something beautiful ultimately. So it's about just shifting your alignment and waiting patiently for the right timing. Because when you plant that seed, it takes time for it to for you to see any results. It's under the surface doing its thing. But if you were to just look at it, you don't see anything happening. So you have to wait for it to manifest into the physical realm. But, as long as you believe that it will, you're just sitting back waiting for you to see what's already happening underneath.
That's right. Time's an illusion. So it's really about your belief and your intention, not time. Time will catch up,
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the Hermetic name, it comes from Hermes Trismegistus, and it's I don't even want to say a man, because for one, they don't know like 100% that he ever existed, and to me personally, I kind of think he's like an alien, to be honest. But Hermes Trismegistus, he had this tablet. It was called the Emerald Tablets of Hermes Trismegistus. Some people have heard the Emerald Tablets of Thoth from Billy Carson, but I'm talking about Hermes Trismegistus, the ones that everybody talks about with the Hermetic Principles, laws of the universe. This entity was around thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. And that sounds crazy because we only think that we've only been here for 6,000 years. But he's been, these tablets are supposedly written like 10,000 plus years ago. At the same time, it kind of goes back to like how this isn't new age. Like what I just said, that's not new age at all. That's like one of the oldest things that we have. And at the same time, all of the knowledge that is encoded with his teachings, the Hermetic Principles, I find it to be like, that's not something that was just like, that's not something a human came up with in their head, through trial and error, through their one personal life. That had to have been imparted with divine knowledge, and enlightenment of sorts. And I know for a fact, like in secret society stuff, like their base belief system is the Hermetic Principles. Some of that stuff has been, twisted for bad, like we've said, like with different groups. A lot of these secret societies didn't start off that way, though. They started off trying to enlighten people and give people the knowledge that they tried to keep, hidden to a select few. I don't really know why they did that a long time ago, but that's what happened. And this is the basis of it. And you can kind of see why. Like if you know you're a creator and you can create your life, man, does that give that person that much power, So I really find Hermes Trismegistus to be very fascinating and something people should look into. It's, to me, it's an important person, whoever exactly that is, to impart that kind of knowledge to all of us to just see nowadays. I mean, that's amazing. That's really, truly amazing.
Yeah, because another planetary system would follow the same laws of the universe as ours. So
yeah,
that would make a lot of sense. We already know that our Old Testament stories are so clearly from a paleo contact lens, really. So that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, the laws of attraction, the laws of manifestation, it's no different than the law of gravity. It's just, it is what it is. And if you don't realize you're doing it, you really can't harness your power well. You're going to miscreate accidentally for most of your life until you realize that you do have the power to create your reality, because you are a drop in the ocean. You are that little spark of God power here in the flesh, and you're put here to do good with it. A lot of people don't, but a lot of people do. And I just think it's about time we all wake up to the fact that we can do this so that we can start doing it right.
I want to emphasize too, what Annalise just said, like, everybody is creating no matter what. You are a creator, period. Like you can hear this podcast and think like, well, I didn't create anything, Yes, you are. Every decision you make is creating something, creating another reality, creating another circumstance. You are creating everything in your reality. And whether you know that or not, you are consciously, subconsciously. Like Annalise said, hopefully we can all harness this collectively one day and really move into like maybe the next dimension, maybe move into 5D or something. I mean, that's what I think is happening right now with everybody waking up. But yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that because that was really important.
That's a really good point, because that's the point of all of this, is to try to become conscious creators instead of just having your unconscious, because our unconscious elements are conditioned with all of that trauma, and we have all of these patterns and we're stuck in these loops. And so if that is what is creating your reality, then that's not very good. So there are a lot of negative manifestations that kind of flow out of all of that. So it's about becoming conscious creators instead of allowing that unconscious to just perpetually pump out the things that we don't want. And I love that you mentioned Hermes, and you gave a little, intro into who Hermes is, because there's so much wisdom, like in the Kabbalion and those Hermetic principles that are listed in there. Is just, it's timeless wisdom. And so it just shows that all of that ancient wisdom is being tapped into by all of these various traditions, people coming from different points of view, but they're saying the same things. They're just using different words. It's like the Tao Te Ching. It also is like ancient wisdom that's just, and then, everything that Jesus said is right. All of that wisdom is right in line with all of these ancient, and Solomon in the Bible, all of that wisdom. And I find it fascinating. And that's also a great episode topic, the Hermetic principles, that we will definitely be diving into for anyone who's interested in that. But yeah, I just think, maybe we should give people like manifestation practices. People are probably thinking, well, how do I manifest? Or what are some things that I can do or whatever? Do you guys have any thoughts around like manifestation practices?
Yeah, I can give you my accidentally discovered ways. Because I never went to some school or some church that taught me how to manifest, but I first had to learn that I was miscreating. I was miscreating a reality of pain and depression and suffering for myself just by what my attention was on, what my inner beliefs were about myself, about reality, about God, about faith, about religion. I had to first really do, like Brandy has said, the shadow work. Like, why do I hate my reality? Well, I know why, not now, but back then, why I had to I know I hate this. I don't like being here. This isn't a pleasant experience for me, but supposedly I've created it for myself. How did I do that? Well, I know in my case, I focused on the pain, the physical pain of my chronic pain condition. I was pleading with an external God to fix me. I was thinking I was a victim and it was just up to God in the sky to heal me. So that's just not going to lead to any happy reality. And it surely didn't for me. So my manifestation practice, I guess, became releasing control and falling back into the flow of life and knowing, I just knew in my heart the reality I was here to create. And for me, that's a reality rooted in nature, with healing, music, community, those kinds of things. So how would I get that reality? Well, first I need to live out on some land, but the money wasn't there for that. The money's never there for anything in our lives, is it? So one day I told Parker, I said, I am a piece of infinite consciousness in this body. And you're telling me I can't do what I know I'm here to do because of some pretend money system. Money's not even real. It's not even real. It's an energetic exchange. It's not a tangible, like our dollar is like backed by nothing at this point, right? I mean,
No, yes, printed out thin air.
so I was frustrated. At this point, I'm like, okay, I know about all these little Hermes principles, but why can't I do it? Because of money? Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. So I said, I'm just going to, instead of praying for it, asking for it, hoping for it, I have it. That's my decision. I have it. I have the land. I have the sound healing studio. I have the community I need. I have it all. And I'm just going to live as happy as I would have lived if I had it. And then things just literally started rushing to me like a current. and in
Yeah.
inexplicable ways where I could say, well, first I would say that's not me. But then Parker would say, it kind of is. I'd say, well, that's so God, that's so divine. Well, yes, it is, but you're a willing participant of the flow, so
Yeah.
so I started living as if I had it. And then as time caught up, I had it. And now I'm living in a reality where I'm virtually pain-free, not all the time, but most of the time, pretty pain-free. I live out in nature. I have a sound studio. I'm taking steps to get my, sound healer certification, all the things. I'm living the reality that I used to only dream of. And I would say it was just believing that choosing to be as happy as I would have been had I already had it is what
Yeah.
my practice became. So if if that dream reality you want, but it's got to be from a place of goodness, if that God's will kind of reality you see for yourself, maybe it's having a husband and kids, maybe it's having your dream job, maybe it's traveling the world. Picture yourself having that. Feel the feeling of what it feels like to have that abundance, that gratitude, that just peace, that finally I've made it, that happy feeling. Feel that. Now do that every day until you have it, and you will have it. That's my
Yeah.
practice.
That's beautiful. And I love what you said about money. I just want to throw that in right off the bat, because so many people are blocked in that capacity, like they believe money's evil, or the desire for money would be evil, and that they can't want more money. And yeah, I mean, if you're just wanting money, for superficial, egotistical type reasons, then yeah, it'll probably derail your life. But the fact of the matter is that we live in this 3D world where money allows people, it sets people free in a way that they're able to do what they're here to do. If you are working 3 jobs just to pay your mortgage so that you can just be here and exist, then you don't have any time and capacity to step into who you're really created to be. So opening yourself to that divine flow includes money. And, so once if you have a block in that capacity, then you need to do your shadow work around it and allow yourself to receive what you need to receive, whether it be money, resources, whatever the case may be, because all of those things are illusions anyway. They're passing away. We're not taking any of that with us when we go. So it's just a matter of letting it come to you as it needs to, so that you can do what you're here to do.
Yeah.
That's right. Because if it's not real, if money's energy, then just act as if it's not even a factor in the matter. When you're thinking like, okay, I wake up this morning and I'm thinking of that reality I want, and how do I feel when I'm there? Okay, that's how I feel, regardless of how much money it took to get there. And watch that money just come to you. I mean, just how much you need and just when you need it. It's
That's right.
amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's all God, or some would say it's all the universe. It's all what it is. It is. It is all the one. We're all connected. All of our thoughts, our actions, our energy, our prayers, it's all working together.
All right. I want to say 2 things. First thing is about money. All right. Money is not the root of all evil. Money is the ability to choose, the ability to be free. That's going to fly in the face of anybody who's ever heard that in church. But at the same time, I will say, during the medieval days, the church took everybody's money and penance and took it and said, you'll go to heaven if you just give me all your inheritance. If you give me 100 gold coins, I'll tell God to let you into heaven. That is so hypocritical. It's
Yeah.
so
That's
listen,
the root
people.
of all evil, right?
Exactly. So don't let that twist you up. Don't be afraid to embody you attracting money. I mean, the ability to choose. We'll say that, because just remember, the same people who told you that it's evil are the same people who took your grandparents' inheritance money and everybody else's penance money and built their huge cathedrals with it and everything else. Okay. So I have to go on that rant with that. And the second thing is with the manifestation thing, it goes back for me and probably for a lot of guys too. If you do your shadow work, you get out of your own way once you're done doing your shadow work, or at least once you can progress through enough shadow work. Your inner ego, your desire to be the biggest, baddest boy on the block is what is taking your manifestation and dumbing it down. I promise you. When you can just ride the wave that is just put out there, don't try to control it. Don't try to make yourself, be the cool dude or anything like that, the man with the most power. You don't have to be that way. You just live the life you're supposed to live at your highest potential. And also with the manifestation, you have to walk through the doors that the universe puts in front of you. It's not going to just take your desire and drop it on your front doorstep. You have to take the doors that open up. I mean, we know people who would love to be a part of, doing something like we're doing, like living on land or something like that. And I can personally see the opportunity right in front of their face, and they can't even see it. And they too scared to take it.
You can't play scared. You can't play scared in this manifestation game.
No, you can't.
You see the open door, you take it.
Yeah. If the universe is giving you the door, you must walk through it. The universe will not throw you through that door, just so everybody knows.
There's a saying in poker that scared money can't win.
I was just about to say that. Scared money don't make money.
That's it. But Parker, I want to say, you were talking about the love of money, or money being the root of all evil. And what the verse actually says, for anyone who's listening and maybe isn't clear on that, the verse says the love of money is the root of all evil, not that money is. And so, don't get it twisted. If money is your heart's desire, then there's a problem there. But money in and of itself is just a tool. It's just a currency that we use. And also when you were talking about the biggest, baddest, get your own ego out of the way, that really resonates, because within each and every one of us, whether you're male, female, or however you identify, we all have masculine and feminine energy, right?
Right.
And so it's about balancing that. We all get out of balance in some capacity. We're out of balance in probably several capacities, but that's part of the shadow work, is balancing that masculine and feminine energy that is within each and every one of us. And so, when you're too far in one direction, all manner of neurosis flows. So that was a really good point.
Yeah, thanks. And that's so true, because when you're balanced out, that's when you're your highest self. And the divine masculine, divine feminine, people get it twisted, and they think like, oh, I have to act feminine or act masculine. No, that's not.
Right.
We're talking about your energy, not your physical self or your feelings, really. More or less just your energy. Mm-hmm. And it's such an esoteric, highly knowledgeable point that whoever's listening to this, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to research masculine energy and feminine energy, and you will see exactly what we're talking about and how they have to be balanced out. Nothing to do with male, female, nothing like that. It's all about the energy.
Right. Yeah. And in our cultures, it gets so twisted too, because your cultural context tells you what it means to be a man or a woman, what it means to be masculine or feminine. And all of these, misconceptions about what we need to be and how we need to behave. Like women, they need to be seen and not heard. They need to be gentle spirits or whatever. And that, it traps people in a certain type of performance, so that they're trying to be and become people pleasing, as Annalise has pointed out in previous episodes. And, that masculine macho, like you were pointing out, but it's about, when we balance those inner energies, which have nothing to do with our genders, then like you're saying, Parker, then we are able to live from our highest self, which transcends all of this material stuff, and we can manifest the life that we truly were created for, and the one that we really desire down deep. Like, we may be thinking that we want all these other things, but down deep, what we really want is peace and wholeness and inner alignment, and to live with purpose.
Yeah.
That's right.
I want to point out too that the reason it's not like easy or just natural to manifest in this day and time is because the system is created so you can't manifest your own knowings, your own reality. It's created so that you have to work like a dog all day. There's just no time to manifest. You're just trying to survive. You're not able to just believe for things on a whim. You feel like you're trapped in this reality of, well, how can I manifest? I'm paying my bills. I'm doing the things, da 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 da. And it feels so overwhelming. But I think really, like we said, it's just all about that, just putting out that little spark of faith for it, belief for it, even though you don't have it, even though maybe you are working your 9 to 5 and you can't even imagine a reality where you're not. Well, start imagining it. And, every day for 10 minutes, sit with the feeling that you have that already, and just watch those circumstances start to change and doors start to open and opportunities come towards you that you never expected. It really is. It's your faith that has made you healed, as Jesus said. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there are all sorts of techniques out there for manifesting, like the 369 technique where you write something, I don't know, writing your desires daily, like in, 3 times on one day, 6 times the next. I don't know. I don't know the formula, something like that. But, really that's not what it's about. And then there's those visualization techniques, which I think are helpful because it guides your thought into what you really want. And I do believe we have to visualize it. And it can help you tap into the feeling of the wish fulfilled, which that's what I think Neville Goddard, the way he puts it, we need to live in the end, or live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. In other words, embody it as though it already, is your reality. But it's really not as simple as just visualizing something for a moment. Like I already said, I recommend shadow work, getting in touch with your soul's true longing and aligning yourself in a way to bring what you want or what you need when you need it for your highest and best good. Really, that's what it's about. Because we could try to manifest a certain amount of money or a dream home or a fancy car, but in reality, what we truly desire underneath all of that superficial desire is security and freedom from survival mode, or the ability to step into our soul's longing, like I already said. So, what we really desire is that feeling that we believe the money or the house or the car will bring. So it's best to just get to the heart of the matter and flow from there rather than attempting to manifest superficially. Magical things happen when we manifest from the root and not the branch.
Well, that's beautiful. Oh, I so agree. Because even, somebody living in their dream house or with their dream car, even things that aren't material, maybe they're living with their dream, maybe they created a charity and that's just all they wanted to do. It's great. It's wonderful. But if they start to slip back into that lack mindset or that negative mindset, it can all crumble really fast. It's like you have to keep holding that frequency of gratitude and joy, even when circumstances are not.
And when you say you do manifest everything that you want, right? And you know this trick, and I think you mentioned this in the last podcast, Brandy mentioned it sometime to me at least, where it was a story or a circumstance that happened with this guy. He was taught how to manifest. He did his manifestations the right way. He got what he manifested, but then he started getting cocky, and then he started acting like he could just do it on a whim and just get what he wanted. Well, then things took a really bad turn for that guy, and he lost everything, and he had to get back to being grateful for his ability to manifest, his manifestations, and staying grateful, not slipping out of that frequency.
Yeah, because there's a difference between manifestation and manipulation, right? I mean, manifestation becomes manipulation when your desire overrides discernment. Yeah. And that's what that guy kind of slipped into, some of that. And true manifestation is an act of alignment. It's about harmonizing with the frequency of your highest good and allowing that reality to unfold through resonance and not force. I think a lot of people, are trying to force outcomes. But manipulation attempts to bend those outcomes through control. Like it often ignores the sovereignty or consent of others, and bypassing natural timing or deeper soul lessons. The ethical heart of manifestation lies in intention. It's always about our heart posture. I mean, are you seeking to co-create with the universe, or are you trying to control it? Are your desires rooted in love, expansion, truth, or in fear, insecurity, ego? So it's not just about what you're calling in, but why and how you're calling it in. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Manifesting from that place of wholeness honors both your inner truth and the interconnectedness of all other beings, because we have to allow for other people's free will. When we try to manifest someone else's will, their affection or their choices, like make someone else love us, draw someone's affection, that's what I'm trying to say. Without their energetic agreement, it shifts into spiritual coercion, what some might call energetic trespassing. And really, it's just what determines the difference between the negative polarity path and that positive polarity path as outlined in the law of one. Now, we can't violate the freedom of others, which is to control and manipulate and be a positive polarity person. In essence, manifestation is rooted either in integrity or in control. And integrity trusts the process and it honors free will. It doesn't clutch or coerce. It attracts by becoming.
Yeah, that's another thing I found out accidentally, is that when you start trying to control the flow, the flow quits flowing.
Yes.
we
Yes.
in our case with our recent move, as soon as we got our hands, like we were so excited, things were just flowing, we couldn't believe it, and then we got our hands on it and started trying to make things happen certain ways, and all the magic just went away. It just, things quit flowing, doors quit opening, just peace quit being there. There's no peace anymore. And we real quickly were like, I think we've messed it up. Like I think we listened to that power of God within, but then our little ego hands got involved. And so we backed off real quickly, and the flow returned. And
Yeah.
it's very interesting just to observe, just be the observer of your own God-given power. It'll blow your mind.
Yeah, like instead of like we went from being like so hyper grateful for the house, and we still obviously we still are, but what she's talking about is like when once we got in and started seeing the things that needed to be updated, and had to get like a tractor, just different small things. It started to just overtake the mind pretty much.
Yeah.
And instead of being grateful for this beautiful house, this beautiful yard, everything that's here, instead of being grateful, we got to thinking like, we got to do this, and then we need to do that. And things kind of went away. The magic went away. But then once we came back to being grateful for everything, it just kind of like a switch flipped, and the magic came back.
Absolutely. It's such an excellent example of how life pulls us out of the magic and into the rumination of our conditioned mind. Thank you for sharing that, because it really illustrates how something so wonderful and magical could be missed if we aren't intentional about where we place our awareness. I mean, there are always opportunities to worry or fixate on the lack or the perceived lack, because no situation or circumstance is static. Life is in flux. So there's always something that needs to be updated or adjusted, and we have to be mindful of where we place our awareness. Just the process of decorating and making a new house your own can pull you out of the magic. Something that should be creative and fun can become a chore if we're not intentional. But my mind is immediately drawn to puppies because, I'm a dog person. So I'm thinking about the joy of adding a new puppy to your home. It's all magic until you're up and down all night struggling through potty training or losing expensive shoes to that teething phase. But I just wanted to say I have loved being able to witness the universe bring you guys into your dream home. It's so utterly perfect, and I know how grateful you both truly are, and I'm just so happy for you both. But one more thing I wanted to speak into before we close out today. Surrender is central to manifestation. Surrender is the paradoxical power move in manifestation. I mean, things flow your way when you stop gripping the outcome and start trusting your alignment more than your agenda. In a culture obsessed with making it happen, surrender can look like weakness, but in truth, it's the ultimate act of co-creation. When you surrender, you release the fear-based need to control, and you signal to the universe that you trust its timing, its wisdom, and orchestration. So you stop forcing and you just start flowing. Surrender doesn't mean giving up your desire. It just means giving up your attachment to how and when it arrives. It's an energetic declaration that says, I know what I desire, I've done my part, and now I allow. In that space of allowing, you create the most fertile soil for manifestation, because your energy is no longer knotted with doubt, desperation, or micromanagement. Instead, you become magnetic and receptive. It's the spiritual equivalent of unclenching your fist so that you can receive. And I think I've shared this before, but in my early conversations through the veil, I asked my loved ones the secret to living a fulfilled life. And I asked this same question worded many different ways. I said, how do we find fulfillment? How do we become enlightened? Or how do we obtain inner peace? How do we become whole? Or how do we obtain salvation? And every time, without fail, the response was, let go. So surrender really is the doorway into everything that we truly desire.
Wow. You can't put a price on that right there,
No.
giving that information out. Let go.
Yeah.
I love it.
Let go.
Let
Well,
it go.
maybe that's a good place for us to close out today, unless you guys have anything further you'd like to add?
I think that's great. I've loved it.
All right. Well, before we go, a quick heads up. Starting next episode, we'll be shifting to a bi-weekly release schedule. This gives us the space to focus more deeply on building the community side of the podcast, because this isn't just a show, it's a shared journey. And for those of you who will miss the weekly rhythm or just want more episodes in your feed, you can check out my other podcast, Spectral Symposium, where I, Brandy, co-host with my friend Allison Hughes. It's a different flavor, but just as deeply mystical. So I'll drop the link in the show notes in case you're interested. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of Transcending the Rabbit Hole. As always, cosmic blessings and peace.
Of sleep, 'cause distraction is key. But as long as there is still a sun up in the sky, I can choose to live on the sunny side. It's somewhere between burying my head in the sand and falling down the rabbit hole again. I was sleeping just fine peacefully inside my American dream, awoken when those puppet strings were cut right off. You can't ignore, share it, call you misinformed. I know the truth, but trying not to lose my mind. I'm somewhere between burying my head in the sand and falling down the rabbit hole again. It takes a worried man to sing a worried song, and the state of humankind had me humming alone. Hello, common sense, I'm convinced we've lost our way. To the system, now there's power to reclaim. But as long as there's a heart beating in my chest, I will cling to hope that's true. I will